Coming at you live from a couple of stools in the Low Class Studios. This is a feminist and a comedian walk into a bar. I'm Justin Golak. I am a comedian. I am sipping on. I'm going to take a sip in a second.
Have you tried it yet?
No.
Oh.
I like to, when I do a new thing, I like to try it live.
Okay.
On the air, as they would say. So basically I've been drinking, like, we've been going out, grabbing some dinners, right? I was in the mood for some pasta carbonara.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, we haven't gone out for a while. Let's get a nice Italian pasta feast. And it was a white sauce. So I was like, oh, God damn it. Hold on. Sorry for the dead air on the audio version. Might not have a video version again this week. Fucking Xfinity.
Oh.
God damn it.
Oh, because our web is not fast enough?
It's not fast enough. But like we pay
like
for
dial-up over
we pay
here.
for like 80 megs. I speed test. I haven't been able to get over 10 megs on a speed test this whole week. And we had problems last week.
Oh, that's fucked up.
This isn't interesting pod at all.
I can't wait for you to call them tomorrow.
You know, because you just got to break it down. You know, here's the thing I always say. I'm going to fucking, hold on. Once this fails, we can rant for a second. Here's the thing. Is like, I always kind of tell this to people. Is like, all right, it looks like we might be streaming again. But it's going to be dog shit. I'm just going to go online. I'm going to do what I did last week. There's not going to be video, but there'll still be the audio version of the podcast on YouTube if you watch on YouTube.
Okay.
And we'll get this straightened out ASAP.
Yeah, we're gonna.
But I think most of our listeners are audio listeners. That's even with the most popular podcasts that do both, like a Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I think he said something that's like 75% of the total listeners are audio.
Just downloads to your phone. Yeah.
So, all right, hold on. Let me just stop this stream. Sorry for the dead pod.
Dead pod.
Dead pod.
Yeah, I feel like that's a phone call you should handle because you'll be so mean to them. You'll break them down.
Well, I don't. You know what I mean? I stay in the pocket because then they actually like
help you.
And like I am not like a reckless maniac. Like I am one of those people that realizes like, all right, this person's making $12 an hour to deal with customers. Now I've gone off on them when they give me independent attitude. Like when they come at me in a very like shitty way, I will basically it's not even like, it's like basically like, bitch, I'm loaded already for your employer, which I will hold in for you because I know that's not you. You're not Mr. Xfinity, right? Yeah. Swimming in a bathtub full of 12-year-old Thai boys and drinking, eating the last dodo bird. Like they didn't all go extinct. Just most of them, and we keep 100 hidden, and we breed them with each other so rich people can eat them. Or whatever the fuck Mr. Xfinity's doing to destroy planets and humanity and or spiritual consciousness. But anyway, but if they choose to just, like, be shitty, it's like I can go 0 to 60 because I'm like, I'm already pent up. I was holding it in for your good. But that's happened rare. I'd say, like, 1 out of 20 calls to a thing do I actually get vicious. But I get that quiet psycho. I go like, listen, like I just like I've heard my mom do that. She'll just get real quiet and she'll be like, I know what you're doing, like something like that, just like real like chilling. Anyways, so maybe it's genetic.
Wait, continue. Like, what do you say? I know what you're doing.
I just remember once she like. Verizon was like adding some small charge that she didn't notice for like a year. Yeah. That kind of added up. And she was even like, my mom will get real like, and that's why she does. And that's another thing is she'll be like, look, I don't even want that money back. I just want it off now. And there's this thing you're giving me a hard time on. And I want that now. Like, so I want that thing that you're trying to not give me. But I know you can. I want that. And I want this taken off. And I don't even care about that. All right. You grifted me. Good for you. But like I remember she whispered something about like, I read about what your company's doing in the papers, and if you don't want an issue, then you can just solve this for me now.
Oh, shit.
Or we can have a problem all the way up the food chain. Or something like that, just some cold-ass...
That's some cold shit.
Fucking, like Boston mobster shit, But no, because, like, my point is, like, so people always talk about, like, companies, like, oh, these fucking corporations, they have no conscience, they don't care, it's profit only, like, they don't care about the greater good, which is... in a way, it's fucked up. Again, it's that idea of like perfect world versus reality. Like, yeah, that's fucked up. But what's your plan to fix that? Do you have one? I've never heard of one. So my point is you can regulate them on a society, like on a governmental level, and just in your personal life, how you deal with them. Go in with that knowledge, and it makes things easier. So I've dealt with this before. At my first apartment in Chicago, I was getting these dog shit internet speeds, and I'm paying for, human shit internet speeds. What's the opposite of dog shit? What's the positive? It's not another kind of shit. Dog meat. I'm getting dog shit and paying for dog meat.
Yeah.
Right?
Because it's still for the dogs.
I meant like
in this analogy.
Meat made of dogs.
Oh.
What's something we get out of dogs that's good? I'm getting dog shit and paying for dog companionship.
Yeah.
Ship and shit. It's kind of, we'll work on it. Neither of those are perfect.
We'll get there.
What do you think I meant? Like meat for dogs?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Clearly my standards
that's why you were like
low.
That's why you were like too into it. I thought I'd get a little like, oh, that's silly because
we don't eat meat dogs.
We don't eat dogs. But you're like, yeah, that makes. And I was like, we got to be on different wavelengths.
Yeah, dogs for
especially
meat.
Like
meat for dogs.
Especially old sad Jackie.
I
who
know.
Just like anything sad. Like,
you said Thai boys in a pool, and
I know, and that's why I was like, but she's cool with dog meat for some reason.
I lost it for about 20 seconds just with that sad imagery.
I was listening to something related to our first topic, like on accident. Not even on accident. That's like a weird way to put it. Just like I wasn't searching it out. It just was part of a podcast I was listening to. They were just talking about recent events, and it was like real graphic. And like even I was like, God damn, it's a tough one. And so I just know you would have you'd have cried for 8 to 12 hours.
They devastate me.
But anyway, so it's a little tease for topic
teaser.
1. But anyway, so my point is, so if you know their profit incentive, you can say that's evil, but also you can manipulate that knowledge easily. And that should always be your first line of defense. So when I was having internet problems in my old apartment, which is sure what I'm going to take to this phone call that I'll make sometime this week, is like, listen, I'm paying for, 80 megs or 60, whatever I was paying for. They're, it was like one of their higher plans. I'm getting 10. So, I mean, go ahead and just keep my service the same, but I want my payment to be what the 10 is because it's way less. So I'm getting 10 with whatever you're doing. So don't change that because that's what I'm getting. I don't know if you're pushing through 80, but I'm only getting 10 through the pipes. So keep the pipes the way they are, but I'm paying I don't remember the exact. I'm paying 40 a month. Looks like you're giving that away for 12 a month. Just start charging me 12 a month and we're fine. And they're like, oh no, we'll send someone. We got some openings tomorrow morning. We can send someone over. And yeah, there was some weird thing. I had like an intercom. So basically I had to get DSL at my old place, which uses like phone lines. And I also had like an intercom that used the phone lines. And I guess the guy did they sent over someone like that was like, yeah, you're not supposed to the guy should have known you shouldn't splice here because that's going to cause interference. And he just like re-spliced it in a different place. And it was all fine after that. So that's why I'm hoping they'll just be like, oh, no, we'll fix it right away.
Yeah. Maybe it's the splice issue.
Because that's what I'll sell. Because
then they'll spliced right, this dog meat.
Or whatever. Hopefully I just hate when they have to come in the house because they have to talk to a stranger. I like it because a lot of times
it's just weird letting a stranger into your house.
Well, a lot of times now with cable, there's like a box outside in the alley. So I'll be like, do I need to be home? They're like, no, they just check the box.
Do you think it's weirder for us or weirder for them?
It's weird for everybody.
Yeah.
And if it's not weird for them, it's like getting caught on the plane with the chatty guy. You're like, God, why can't you just be fucking weird? I love when they're like, living in like a city environment, like when it's like, I'm like, dude, I think this guy's Hispanic. He doesn't speak English. Fucking score. Fucking
he just wants to get in and out. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when hello, I here for cable. I'm like, fuck yeah, cable this way, man. If you need agua, let me know. Otherwise, no need for the chit chat. No need. Especially like when I had that guy come in and he was nice. We actually did chat briefly, but he was like nice. I don't know, but we didn't chat too much.
There were social cues.
But the point was, it was like I lived in a studio apartment, so I'd like know where to go. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like if you live in a house, you can at least be like, well, I got some stuff to finish up in the office. If you need me, I'll be in there. Like I have a kitchen, but it's like an open floor plan. Like not even I can't even go in the kitchen. It's just like I'm basically just sitting in the chair watching TV while he's like working 10 feet away from me because I'm like I'm living in like 400 square feet. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like,
Totally.
oh wait, no, that seems like too much. I don't know how to do math. It was like not a lot of, it's like one room, and I'm in that room because I'm like, well, it's the only room I have.
I'm
so
just gonna sit on my couch bed.
oh yeah, I'm gonna sit on my couch bed and watch my TV / bathroom. So anyway, so I think we'll get it figured out. But I'm sorry there's no video these last 2 weeks. If that is something you count on, but we'll get that up lickety split hopefully. Or we'll have no video and we'll be paying $5 a month for internet. Either way, fuck these motherfuckers up.
Try your
verbally.
drink.
Oh yeah, so I'm Justin Golak. I'm a comedian and I'm sipping on. We got some pasta carbonara. It was a white sauce. Yeah,
later.
I remember saying white sauce, and then I saw the little fucking indicator go like connection problem. And I was like, fucking Xfinity,
Mr. Xfinity.
And so,
with his dodo bird.
So I was like,
he probably gets dog meat.
Who?
Mr. Xfinity.
Probably, but I'm more thinking of that as like a poor person's thing.
I don't know.
Like
could be like
the
a
Asian,
weird delicacy.
that Asian street festival with the dogs.
Oh, I'm so sad. See, another awful image that's gonna stick with me for the next. Just fill up the next 20 seconds.
It's because I heard they like kind of like torture the dogs because it's supposed to make them taste better.
It's so sad.
But I just still think people are like that's fucked up. But I do still always think it's weird. Like, again, like. You could eat meat
even draw that conclusion. Yeah,
but it's like meat eaters are still offended by it. So that's why, like, I just always think I'm like, yeah, well, I wouldn't torture the dogs to, get them to taste better. Which honestly might even just be white propaganda. But I've heard that from a few people that there's just like a lot of weird, torturous ceremonial elements. They don't just eat the dogs, like, because there's a festival of eating dogs. But I heard there's weird festival related shit that's fucked up. But as a meat eater, I can't criticize it. And I feel like when others do, I'm like, that's weird to pick a line of what you can eat. You feel like all animals are game or no animals are game?
I mean, do you think, though, that it's torture in general to eat animals? Don't you see the difference between, like, farming practices and
yeah,
torture?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's torturous.
You don't think it's... You don't think it's torture to torture a dog?
No, I'm saying I think if you just slaughter dogs humanely like we do with animals, in our best times, then I wouldn't have an issue with it.
But I think people are angry about the torture.
I think that's exactly what I'm saying.
About the torture.
I'm saying as a meat eater, I can still look at the torture and say that's fucked up.
Okay.
But I'm saying I still think that I've heard meat eaters just say like, "Can you believe they eat dogs? That's fucked up."
That wasn't clear. You made it sound like you couldn't judge them for torturing the dog.
I think everyone else listening got it. I think you're the only one that didn't get it.
Tell us about your fucking drink, Justin.
Anyway, so we got this pasta carbonara, which was a delish, and I was like, "Oh, white sauce. I don't want to be a savage. I'm gonna get a white wine, but I don't really like white wine. I like reds more." And I was like, should I get a white wine? I like something a little dry. And then I was like, "Oh yeah. It would be perfect. It's the middle of summer." Well, we're towards the tail end, sadly, but it was a nice hot day out. We were enjoying ourselves, and I was like, what would be perfect? Some Prosecco. A little bit of sparkling white.
Yeah.
Treat myself. And then we went out to go get steak dinner for our anniversary, and I was like, perfect, steak, I can get a red. But I was like, oh, man, I'd love something refreshing. I almost like that Prosecco again. Oh, what can I do? I'm going to do rosé. A little bit of pink, just like the middle of my steak. A little bit of bubbles, because I'm a fancy boy. And then that got me thinking. I was like, I got like a couple. You can get those like 4-packs of wine where they're like the little, like airplane bottle size things. Yeah. I got a pack of those.
Like Sutter Home.
Yeah, I got a pack of those to do some cooking. Because like you don't drink anymore, and so like usually I'd maybe just like if I was gonna cook with red wine, just buy a whole bottle, pop it, use my half cup for the fucking pasta or whatever I was making, and then just drink the rest. But I was like, well, I don't want to polish off a whole bottle. Jake doesn't drink anymore, so I'd have to. So I've got these little bottles. So I'm like, I'll use half of that. All right, I'll drink the other half with dinner. Like that's not too tough a task. So I got one of those 4-packs, and I still have like 2 or 3 bottles left, I think, from the cooking time, which was like a few months ago. So I was like, you know what? I just had that Prosecco. I just had that rosé. What about like a red wine cocktail? Something with some bubbles. Something a little fresh. That might be like a good thing to try this summer. Oh, when do I actually make a cocktail for myself? The podcast. So I looked up red wine cocktail recipes. I was looking for just like a spritzer maybe. Mostly something simple. Nothing I'd have to buy a ton of ingredients for. And I came across this, which I think I'm going to do a spritzer next week, which is just like, soda water, little squeeze of lime and some red wine. But I was like, I found this recipe. I was like, this seems like the same thing. Little bubbles, little sweet, little red wine, but it's a little different, and it excited me because I'm like, I think this could be good or super gross. So that's why I wanted to taste it on air. But it's called Cuba Libre del Pobre, which is the poor man's rum and coke. As we all know, the Cuba Libre rum and coke, very famous drink. So Cuba Libre del Pobre, the poor man, which is always like, you know what I was thinking? So I guess the implication is that at some point in Cuba, red wine
was cheaper
cheap.
than rum.
Rum, which is like a locally made, expensive. So I didn't get it. I don't know. Was that a thing at some point? Has it switched now? Because I don't think of wine. I know you can get cheap wine. Obviously, I'm using like this Sutter Home shit. But like, I don't think of wine. You always think of wine as like fancy and like rum. You can get a big old bottle of rum. You know, you could get like store brand rum cheap. I don't know. Like, I guess it just made me think of like how so much is arbitrary and stuff. Like the idea, like I always think again of this story that who knows if it's even true. I've heard it so many times though. But like, oh, you know, they used to serve prisoners in Boston lobster. Because lobster was thought of as like gross and dirty because it was like a bug and it lived on the bottom of the sea. No one liked it. They served it to prisoners. Isn't that crazy? And then people started to like it. And now it's super expensive. Isn't that crazy? So I wonder if it's the same thing with wine. Wine was, oh, you're drinking wine? What are you, some sort of poor? Drink rum like an aristocrat. So anyways, so that's what I'm drinking now. And I will take my first sip. So I got the good Coke. I got the Mexican Coke with the real sugar. I got a Cabernet Sauvignon. Which is my favorite.
That word's like Worcestershire.
That's my favorite red. That and a Chianti. Those are my favorite reds.
Oh yeah, you introduced me to Chianti.
I like a dry red, and they said a dry is better, obviously, because I think dry reds kind of do taste boozy. I always think like a good dry red that I like with kind of those like blackberry notes and those kind of like chocolatey notes. It reminds me of like a sweet whiskey, like a Jameson, which I like, or something like that. So if they said to use a dry, which makes sense that you're substituting like liquor. Yeah. And then so it's just equal parts, 4 ounces of red wine, a dry one if you prefer. And that should be better. And 4 ounces of Coca-Cola. Again, I would spring for the Mexican Coke if you're going to do it. And let's see how it tastes. And then just pour it over ice. I just used a half cup measuring cup because that's 4 ounces. So, but I guess it doesn't really matter on the ounceage per se. I think they use 4 ounces. 4 ounces technically a serving of wine. Yeah. But as long as it's 1 to 1, I don't think the ounces matter. So let's take a sip. Dude, that's really good.
Really?
That's really, really good.
Wow.
It's super tasty.
Does it taste like wine? Do you like get the winey taste? Has your wine been tortured?
You know what it tastes like? Like, not exactly. Not as the fruit flavors aren't as pronounced, but it tastes like a boozy version of it. I was afraid they'd really contrast, but you know what it tastes like? It tastes like cherry Coke. You know what I mean?
Oh,
not as sweet because it's grapes, not cherries, and you know wine isn't as sweet as like cherry syrup. But like, you taste mostly Coke. And then you get this fruity underbite. I thought they would clash, but you taste Coke, and then you just kind of like this fruity essence kind of. Yeah,
that's interesting. I wonder if that's becoming a thing because we watched a bar rescue where that's sort of what they offered to this winery that was failing was, you know, you could make wine cocktails, and I was like, I've never even heard of that.
I've heard of wine cocktails. I mean, the biggest one is sangria. That's like the one everyone has, but because they do like beer cocktails now and stuff too. That's so good.
Nice. What would do you feel like that's a good like summer or fall
drink?
Baby.
Summer?
Okay.
Dude, that's a tailgating drink.
Oh.
Up until like early October, maybe late September, depending on your part of the country. Because even in Ohio, I mean, those first 3-4 Ohio State tailgates, they could be hot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that would be good. Right? And you're up at 8 a.m. drinking. That Coke gives you a little buzz, but the red wine makes you feel nice and
honestly,
spicy.
It's better than just for me thinking if I have to go hard all day. That's a good alternative. The only thing drinking lots of like liquor.
I am interested because red wine makes me very sleepy.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering with the caffeine with the red wine what that'll do.
If it evens out.
But that's good.
Nice.
That's tasty, man.
That's awesome.
Fuck yeah. I'd drink that again for sure. Especially because it's like, you know what? Like I said, I like it too because it's like, it's so much liquid. You know, it's like 8 ounces. Like, it's like, once you put the ice in, you can see it's like almost like a full pint glass of liquid. So again, that's what I'm thinking is like, I mean, again, like, it seems weird because it's wine, but that's almost why I'm more intrigued by it. The like, just bringing, because again, it's not like, I think of a bottle of Cab, you know, that's me sipping it at home from a fireplace, maybe with a nice steak, and then going home and napping full of booze and food. But like, that just feels like I would like eat like a burger with that. You know what I mean? Like, that's like a cookout drink to me, because it's like you get so much Coke flavor,
right?
That it could stand up to like greasy food.
It would be a fun party drink too.
I don't think wine can really like. I mean, there's different wines for different things, but again, like a steak, like, because I get like a fillet, so it's not really like fatty. It's like a nice lean steak. You wash it down with some red wine. But again, I wouldn't like eat a burger with a glass of wine. I mean, some people might if they like wine, but because of the Coke, it can stand up to some food, and it's a lot of liquid, so you could handle like thirst. And it's only 4 ounces of wine to that whole pint glass, so you could probably polish off 2-3 of those, and not be super super hammered. You'd be feeling tight, but So I'm taking another sip, and while I'm doing that, I'm gonna introduce Jackie Manti. You know that's who I've been chatting with, right? She's my co-host. She's my wife. She's a feminist, and what's she sipping on?
Dog meat. No, I am drinking the rest of your Coke.
It worked out good. I'm using.
Yeah, it does. That worked out well. Yeah, I feel like that's a good way to not waste on our drinks. Is like we should find like combos.
I'm using soda in my drink next week, so
yeah, maybe
I'm doing another red wine cocktail.
Oh, cocktail.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. I like that you're trying new stuff.
That shit's good.
Yeah, it's
interesting. Good.
I can like taste rum and Coke in my mouth as you're talking about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know that like it's kind of what's nice about it's got to have that like bitterness in it, and like a dry red. I can see how that would work, you know.
Totally.
Also,
because it doesn't taste like rum. I think rum's too sweet. I don't really like rum, but that's why like I don't even really like Crown and Coke either, which I like better. Like some people like Jack and Coke. I don't like bourbon or Tennessee whiskey because it's too sweet. I hate booze when it's too sweet. I hate like bourbon and Tennessee whiskey. But I like Crown. I like Rise. I like, you know, just blends, and I love Jameson. That's my favorite. But so I would do Crown. I would do like a Crown and Coke when I wanted Coke. Like, you know, you may be like, all right, let's go do one more bar. And then I get like a Crown and Coke, get a little caffeine in me. You know, I'm like super weak when it comes to caffeine too. So
I know.
Even the splash of Coke with the Crown, that
we're up all night.
That could give me a little boost. That give it
so weird.
And so that's what, again, like if you like rum and Cokes, you might not like this. But like you said, if you like whiskey Cokes, you might like this because it's like a dry white. I think, like I said, tastes a little bit like a whiskey per se, like just that dryness. Whereas the fruitiness, that's its own thing. But I just know, like, I didn't think I liked wine, and it's just like sushi. The reason I didn't think I like sushi because I had a California roll at Golden Corral when I was 12, and I was like, nah, this is gross. It's like, no, it's just
that one was gross.
In the same way, I'm sure, like, since I didn't know wine and it was made of fruit, I'm sure I was like, yeah, give me something fruity, and that it was gross to me. But I remember I liked whiskey, just like whiskey rocks, and someone was like, you should try like a Cab, like, or something dry, and I tried it, and I was like, you know, that's much more similar to whiskey than it is to a wine cooler, which is what I always thought wine was, like this kind of really fruity drink. And I was like, oh, when it's dry, it's like kind of drinks like a fruity essenced booze, and I like drinking booze straight. And then that's kind of what got me into wine.
One of my sides of my family, we used to own a winery in northern Ohio, and like cool story. Actually, I found out that they like were bootleggers during Prohibition, but eventually they sold it, but they still had the Manti name on the wine. And I remember they would have it at family stuff, and no one really drank it except my one great aunt who would drink a lot of it, and which is like me. But I remember trying it, and then I drank some of it in college, and it was just such gross, like super sweet trash wine, you know. I mean, it's Ohio wine. Like
was it like good. Boone's Farm?
Yeah, sorta. Yeah, just real sweet. And maybe I didn't have the good ones, but like it was not very good. But it had my name on it, so I'm like, this is fucking awesome. But then, so that was I always thought I didn't like wine, and then I just realized I just didn't like trash wine or white wine. But when I would cook with wine, I would buy. It'd say you need a cup, and I'd be like, gonna need to get 2 bottles then. Because I knew I'd finish 1 bottle and need to go back to the store to get a second one. Also, it was always expensive to cook with wine because I'd have to get 2 bottles and a pack of cigs.
I would love to see like your blog of recipes. Like,
Jesus,
you need a pound of ground meat. You need 1 small yellow onion. You need a pack of parliaments. You need 2 bottles of wine. Reserve a cup for cooking. The rest is just to get through the life that has been brought upon you.
Yeah.
You should try like because I feel like they sell it year round. You should get like a bottle of like sparkling grape juice.
I know.
And mix it
that
with
would be
Coke.
cool.
Because I think you'd get
That'd
that
be
same flavor profile. Because I feel like the sparkling grape juice, not as sweet as like just regular grape juice. I feel like they kind of make it taste at least like a little like wine. Like it's a little less sweet. And I think the bubbles make it like a little, it has that kind of like weird kind of flinty, boozy taste.
Mm-hmm.
As much as just juice without booze can. So I would love you to do like, maybe on another episode, not even next week, but just sometime in the future.
Yeah, that'd
do
be
like
fun.
do like 4-ounce sparkling grape juice, 4-ounce Coke. I think you'd like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. Or you could just do regular grape juice. I think that'd be too sweet though. The reason I like it because it mostly tastes like Coke, but then it just has, like I said, that's why it's like a less sweet, like like if the cherry flavor in cherry Coke wasn't as prominent, it was more of an essence or something. It's good.
Interesting. Cool.
Mm. Yeah, dude. I want to go to a tailgate now and just bring like a 12-pack of like Coke bottles and like just like a jug of like Carl Rossi and just be like, guys, I know this looks weird, but we're about to have the best tailgate ever.
That is sort of a good pro tip to like stand out at your. Well, I wouldn't be going to a tailgate, but whatever.
You would be gone because you'd be going with me.
Ugh. No, actually, those are fun.
See,
I just don't watch the game. I just hang out.
Yeah, that's what everyone does, Jackie. I mean, I just don't know. Like, it's just funny how, like, people that don't do things, how they view things. And the thing is that most things are a social event. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I know there's, like, a lot of, dress up and a lot of panels and a lot of whatever. But I'm sure, like, if someone invited you to Comic-Con and you're like, I don't really read comics, I'm sure they would say the same thing that I tell you about football. Like, dude, it's just a fun hang.
It's sort of like, or a better example is like Renaissance fairs. You're like, well, I don't really do that. I don't know about that. And then you go and you're like, oh, this is so fun because you're just like hanging out.
All things are excuses for people to get together. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. It's like, and you manipulate it to your own interest. Like, remember when we didn't have anything to, there was like a day last fall, we didn't have like anything to do. And I was like, dude, like, there's a game on. There's like a football game, college football game on. It was like a Thursday. I was like, let's just put $20 on it. What team do you like most? And like, you picked it, and I think I told you like the point spread and explained that to you. I was like, all right, let's put $20 on it.
I like their
let's go get burgers and some beers / club soda cranberries, and let's just watch. We'll get there at like the second quarter or something, so we don't have to watch the whole thing. Because I know you get bored, but then you'll have like a real interest in it. And like, we'll mostly, and again, like, it'll mostly be about dinner and drinks, and we'll talk through most of the game. But when something exciting happens, we can cheer. Like, I mean, and we had a good time. And that's like all tailgating is. It's like, yeah, we'll watch the game, but also let's play cornhole. Let's like cook a bunch of fucking food. Let's like catch up and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, do most things except going to church. Even that's a social activity that most people shouldn't do. Because that gets us into topic one.
I know, good transition.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Yeah, I did that shit on purpose, baby. I'm a veteran broadcaster. All right. Man, this is our biggest intro ever. We've been having big intros, but I think good intros.
Yeah, I like them. I feel like it makes us move through the topics faster, too.
Give us feedback on the Twitter or the email or all the stuff we plug on the end where you can hold us. Let us know. Intros too long? Intros too short? Should we just have a full just free form podcast where you just talk for an hour, or intro's just right? You're liking the direction of the intro. Let us know. All right. So topic one. So just like most of the topics I bring up, like I just found like one article, but it's about something specific, but we can just talk about the general point. So basically it was just this NPR article about the Pope visiting Ireland and basically contrasting that when Pope John Paul visited Ireland in 1979, there was an estimated 1.2 million people out for a mass. And then 4 decades later, the new pope, who's the new pope? What's his name again? Francis comes to Ireland.
Pope Francis comes.
In a little boy. To Ireland. And there's like no one, out.
I was reading the statistics of the rate in Ireland of people who go to Catholic Mass, and in 1979 it was like 80%.
I have the stat up right here. Yeah, 80% when he visited Paul the Deuce, and when old Frankie visited, now it's around 35% of people attend Mass regularly.
It's wild. And
they brought up 2015 they legalized same-sex marriage. This year, by 2/3, they got rid of the amendment banning abortion. So, and I think they have a homosexual prime minister now, too. Something like that. So, yeah, they're clearly moving towards, I don't know, a less religious country, at least in terms of Catholicism. But anyways, I don't know. Just and I was just thinking about, like, it was Pennsylvania, right? That new scandal with the priest boning little people.
It was just like there were finally charges being handed down, and so all the just the paperwork and the cases and the details have come out as to what was going on.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. I was hearing some fucking stories. Man, these stories were brutal. Because they were talking about grand jury testimony and just like some of the things they heard and stuff they had to vote on. It was like this one, it was like a 7-year-old girl raped by a priest after she got her tonsils out in her hospital room. It's just fucked up. It's just like
he came to visit her and just
that's all I heard, but it's just like fucked up shit, you know what I mean? So brutal. But I don't know, man. So anyways, I just think about it and I think that, I don't think at this point. Now we're just talking, let's focus back to America also, because each country has their own laws. Catholicism, it's not really based anywhere. I guess the Vatican, but I'm saying it's like not based in America per se. It's kind of like a free-floating ideology with all these different chapters, and we know our laws and all that stuff. So let's just focus on America. But I would say in America, Catholicism, at this point, you got Boston, the Spotlight movie, like the events that movie covered. You got this Pennsylvania thing.
Yeah.
You got all these other small cases, but especially like these big breakdowns and crackdowns and all that shit. Like at this point, is the Catholic Church, I'm not talking about the belief in God.
A crime organization?
It's an organized crime.
It's organized crime.
Right? That's exactly what I was going to say. We didn't even talk about this before.
No, we
knew
didn't.
Exactly where I was going.
Because I think that's fucking right.
What the mob does for running numbers, they do for prolapsing buttholes.
Oh, Jesus.
Right? I mean, what else?
I feel like that is what the Pennsylvania stuff showed me. I mean, I just think, but although I'm just amazed at the shock of it, because it's like, we've known this for so long. Like, did y'all not watch Sister Mary whatever on Netflix? Like, we know that they're hiding this stuff, that they've been hiding it forever.
I mean, that was like 2 years ago. We've known for...
totally.
Spotlight, that took place in the early 90s, mid-90s?
No, like later 90s, I thought. But anyway, it doesn't matter. We've known forever.
Sadly for our youth, that was like 20 plus years ago.
Oh, jeez. And just it's what's so disgusting is the shuffling around of priests and even buyouts of, to get them out of parish.
Right. Well, and that's the point. That's what takes it from bad apples to institutional failing, right? That, if there was just if you saw some sort of like, look, we are kind of appalled that so many priests do this, but as soon as we found out about each incident, we kicked them out, and we worked with the police, and we worked with the families to get their children help.
That was their talking point for a long time.
But they didn't.
Right.
I mean, they literally
shuffled them around.
Hide these guys.
Yeah.
Again, like dying, like I said, like I just think of like the fucking uncle in The Sopranos. Just any mob. Again, I just can't cop something in the mob. Just taking these old mobsters who are just like about to get pinched and just shuffling them around. Like, oh, we're gonna send you down to the family in Fort Lauderdale. The heat's getting too thick on you here. Like it just seems so mobby. It's just so creepy. And I guess like the crux of this topic too is like I mean, shouldn't there be some sort of punishment You know what I mean? I just don't think. I guess the beef I always have is I just equate a major difference between belief and religion. And I know you technically have freedom of religion, but I think that's like an individual's right to believe what they want and then within the confines of law practice it how they want without persecution from the government.
Right.
But to me, like an organization, like it's still responsible, and you can still crack down on that without oppressing the faith, because your faith is in you and your practice is in your actions. So no one has the right to a building to go to, or to a structure, to like a bureaucratic structure to your faith. Like, you don't have that right, and no religion has the right to have that. You kind of just have the right to your beliefs and your practices, which, again, I would support. As much as I think it's dumb, I would support that because I'm a big First Amendment guy. And everyone wants to boil down First Amendment to free speech, but I think the religion thing's just as important, even though I think it's all hokum to the highest degree. But I would say that, to me, the Catholic Church at this point, again, it's just like people always say with the Second Amendment, right? It was written for muskets, not for AK-47s, right? That's always a reason why we have to like address it through a modern lens. I think the same thing with the First Amendment. I think at this point in history, the Catholic Church isn't a religion. It's a real estate holding company for the most part. That also works in organized crime related to children fucking. So my point is why not just something simple? Why not has the Catholic Church not shown that it's enough of a liability to the citizens of this country, especially the ones under 12, that they should maybe lose their tax-exempt status? What would you think about that as like a fair means to be like, look, we're not going to punish being a Catholic, and we're not going to, favor any religion over you. We're not going to interfere with your beliefs, but you get a benefit as a belief structure from us. And I think, again, us, the government, and the people that,
Do they not pay taxes?
No, they don't.
Okay.
No religion pays taxes. I mean, there's even thing like Scientology doesn't pay taxes, and they hold something like $4 billion in real estate. I mean, they're clearly a scam. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like something like that's clearly a scam because it's so modern, so we can see it. But I think the Catholic Church is also very scammy. It's just like we don't see it because it's like.
Right. Well, and there are parts of. I just wrote a story about a Catholic. It started as what's the word I'm looking for? Just like sort of a safe house for immigrants in the area, and then now it does a lot of just like community support work, and it obviously it's a very good cause and they were doing great work, but I'm like, you're a social organization though. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're a social service. Like, it's easy for me to separate that from the Catholic Church. So then I'm like, then I would fund you as a social service, right? Instead of a church like that. I just don't. I think they should pay taxes. I think that's crazy that they don't.
Or something. Or even again, like 5 years. No tax exempt. You paying taxes for 5 years, and we'll review your case. We want to see some work. We want to see what you're doing related to child sex abuse. We want to see
how are they giving monetary compensation to the victims that are left?
I think in some cases, depending, they have to sue civilly and then win that case. So I don't think there's been a big class action lawsuit, but I just don't see these religious institutions. I just see it so separate from belief.
Yeah.
In a personal way, but also just in a way that relates to law. Like, I don't think it's against the First Amendment to punish institutions that take in money, hold property, and then again, when push comes to shove, act criminally. I don't think, again, I just don't think that the right to practice religion freely is also the right to have a building.
Right.
Or to have, a bureaucratic structure of
weird.
leaders. You're not guaranteed that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not talking about firing Catholics or ban any, or, you know what I mean?
Sure, but
I'm not even talking about church.
You should all lose that privilege.
To be honest, I'm not even talking about priests or preachers. I'm talking again about like the financial, you're not guaranteed. Nothing in the First Amendment talks about and every religion is guaranteed $1 million of money in the bank. You know what I mean? I'm talking about attacking them financially as an institution. I'm not saying putting priests in jail. I mean, except for the ones that fucked, and maybe
or
the ones that cover
and
up.
the one that covered
but
up.
I'm not
yeah.
talking about like just because they're Catholic putting them in jail.
Right.
They have to have committed a crime.
Yeah.
But again, the institution as what's essentially a corporation should be held liable, and something that they get as a corporation specific in the business of religion, they get tax exempt status from our government, a secular institution that represents everybody. And to me, when something that represents the whole is getting hurt by another group, like the whole, meaning, the children of America are getting hurt by this institution, I don't know why they shouldn't be able to be punished by our government that should be representing us.
Well, Justin, I'll have you remember that abortion kills the beating heart of a child, so they do care about the children. Oh, it makes me so angry.
They don't want you to abort that kid because they want to fuck it.
It makes me so angry.
They're like, I can't believe you're aborting that hot-ass kid.
Oh, no.
Look, ma'am, I've seen you and your husband. You're going to make a hot-ass kid. I'm getting fucking boned up just thinking about it. And I want to come in that little boy's mouth.
Oh,
and if you abort it, I'll never get to.
So much upsetting imagery.
I'll never feel that sweet, sweet child saliva
Stop
dripping off my
Justin.
wretched holy phallus.
Oh, man. And just speaking of money in the church, just the monetary martyrdom that a church helps instill and like, I was reading a story about the Ireland thing and the Pope's visit and, protesters and people calling for his resignation too, because there's, accusations that he also has covered up some abuse. Just that they interviewed this woman who's like, yeah, I used to go to church and like when I was a kid and, we were really poor, but there was a lot of pressure to donate. I'm like, yeah. That's what they do.
I mean, I would go on a limb. I think this is the point in all topics towards like the last 15% of time we spend discussing it where I will lose you. But it's something I've been thinking about for a few months now, and this has just brought it to light.
You lost me at child saliva.
Is there anything... I feel like all religion, all organized religion, so I'm talking about like setting up institutions under the banner of faith. All religious institutions, so I'm not talking about what you believe in. I'm not talking about Zeus in the clouds or Poseidon in the river or Jesus on the cross. I'm talking about the institutions that are always created, from big to small, from the beginning of time to the end of time, are all about fucking children. That's the only reason they exist. Right?
No.
I mean, Orthodox Jews in New York, right? Muslims in the Middle East, Catholics in America, and I'm sure a lot of European countries too. I mean, there's no religion that's exempt from fucking kids. There's major stories about all the major religions fucking kids, right?
Well, I think about it this way. Do you tie that to religion specifically? Okay.
Because in order to, because again, maybe we have some brief breaks in it, like maybe Greek times, and things like that. But for most times, except those little blips, fucking a kid is like the worst thing you could do, right? So, but historically, the best thing you could be is a
spiritual leader,
like a what do you call it? A vessel for the Almighty, whatever that Almighty be. Mm-hmm. So if you go, maybe if I could be the best thing, I could finally do the worst thing, which is my favorite thing, which is fucking children, right? I mean, think about it. All religions start small, right? All religions start as a small business, grow into a big business. So when you allegory that to religion, what is the small business of the religious world? The cult. What percentage of cults would you say have some sort of underage sexual abuse as a major component of them?
All of them.
I would say 90%, to be fair. And that's how all these religions started. I think they all start under the premise of fucking children, and then they sell it other ways, and then it grows. And we talk about religions, with Judaism and Islam and Christianity. They've been around for thousands of years, so of course they've morphed and multiplied and changed and took on different interests and practices. But they're all from the seed of the cult, and the cult is always about fucking 14-year-olds. 90% of the time, that's what it's about. So I think it makes sense to me. It's not even like blasphemous or or libelous. It just it makes
just like,
sense to me.
Just like the human psychology of manipulation and why you would put those two together. Yeah.
Because what else? What else? If you're a mother, and that's what you see. You see all these mothers in these cults, like, just like, the leader was like, he picked my daughter, and I was like, oh, it was like such a great gift. He told me, and I believed him, and they fucked, But like, how else? What other reason? Like, what other way could you get a mother to give up her daughter to a old man to have sex with?
Gross.
That's the only way. I've never heard of another way. I've never heard like he was so good at football. He was a great scientist. He had a lot of money. But if you could trick that same mother into believing you're divine, and you could kind of manipulate that faith.
Well, if you can spiritually abuse the mother, you can sexually abuse the daughter.
And there's no other way. You know what I mean? I guess unless you're doing it behind her back. But I've never even heard about a woman being like physically abused so bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let me fuck your daughter, I'll beat the shit out of you. I've never even heard that. You know what I mean? I've heard of like stepfathers and whatever, like, doing it behind her back, and maybe she doesn't want to believe it if the daughter tells her. There's still fucked up shit, but I'm saying, like, I'm just saying I've never heard it, and I'm just saying I could see a line that maybe this is something that pedophiles figured out 5,000 years ago, that, like, not only mothers but just society in general. If we can manipulate their faith belief enough, we can finally fuck these kids, which is my favorite thing, and no one lets me do it.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So I would say you gotta start putting pressure on these things like cults.
Well,
I'm talking about the institutions too, not the individuals. Don't get all nervous.
What have the repercussions been for them? I mean, they had
so I'm saying there's none.
Oh, well, good. They don't pay taxes on their real estate, so sure, they have plenty of money to pay, and they're
and I'm not the first one to say
pressuring people into donating. They have lots of money to pay off the victim.
I know this isn't an original point, but it's one that should be repeated. It should be repeated into hackness and cliche. I mean, if you found out, and sub in anything, but let's just take it for example, because they probably make about the same amount of money annually. If you found out that McDonald's employees were raping children at a higher rate than the general public was raping children, and you found out that district managers of McDonald's were moving people around to different McDonald's, getting them jobs at Burger King's if they had to, just so they didn't get caught, and so no one found out that most McDonald's employees were raping children, how quick do you think McDonald's across the country would be shut down or heavily regulated or fined or something?
Or boycotted.
You know what I mean?
I know.
I mean, one rapey, like, marginal assistant coach, like, almost shut down the entire Penn State football program. Rightfully so.
Right.
And we're talking about hundreds of priests. No dent to the Catholic faith as an organization.
Well, you're the same age as I am, a couple years older, but like, were you still? Was your family still Catholic when all of that stuff broke in the early 2000s? And
I was out of Catholic school by then.
Okay.
And so once I was out of Catholic school, we went to church very rarely.
My family's very Catholic on both sides, and I was going to a public school by that time. I was in high school, basically, when all that started happening, and but I still went to Sunday school every week, and like, all the 9 yards of going to mass every Sunday. That was a big family thing, right? And I just remember the way they talked about it. There was very much, okay, we know this is bad, but that doesn't represent God. It doesn't represent, these bad apples don't represent all of us. And, that's why we need the faith more than ever, is because God will save us from these sinful feelings. And I just remember being like, this is so fucked up that like there's just this riddle that can always be answered with, well, it's the devil. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I understood why these people bought it to a certain extent. You know what I mean? Like, they made a good case for like, well, that's not either it's not happening here, it's not happening to us, or don't let that break your faith. And it was fucking bullshit. And I just remember being in high school being like, I'm not doing this when I have a choice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm mad at this. This
well,
is
that's
so
what,
awful.
That thing I was listening
and then
to.
I feel like my anger about that just grows the older I get. And I'm like, I mean, I haven't been to church. I only go for, like, funerals now if something's being held in there. But, like, even, I mean, I think we talked about this before. Like, I don't go to the baptisms anymore because I'm like, this makes me so angry. I like, it's hard for me to not take it personally, too, that people I love are still involved with something like that, where I just got to let that go. It's their choice, right? But I'm like, children are being raped by this, again, like you said, this organization, and anything else you would throw this, and
well, anything else is secondary, right?
What makes me so mad is about, like, again, spiritual abuse of, like, no, you need to go to church, and this is how God knows that you love him. Do you know what I mean? Like, just that manipulation of, like, no, you have to be, it's pretty much you're going to hell if you don't say you're Catholic anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's your loss of faith. You're going to hell. Just this implied punishment. And whereas I feel like I just have a much more beautiful experience with spirituality, being able to do it on my own terms and finding, you know what I mean? Like, what works for me? How do I worship best? Versus this, like, stale old fucking thing where, and again, like, even if you didn't feel that way, go to another church. What are you doing? Stop supporting this organization. It's crazy to me. And like, hurtful. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, I was going to say that the thing I was listening to with the horrific stories, one of the things that's not as horrific, so you don't have to, I don't know, you'll probably still be triggered, but it's not as, like, viscerally horrific, but it's still disturbing, was just like, yeah, they just were reading off I don't remember the exact but basically, like, the bishop, or just some high-ranking priest in the archdiocese where these priests were convicted. He just had these letters about these priests. I don't know if it was, like, to address the grand jury or whatever, but basically, like, they were just saying, like, oh yeah, this guy raped, like, 16 young boys orally and anally for, like, whatever, a decade, and the priest's, like, letter about him was like, he's a very good man and very devout, and, like, like, just no condemnation, like you said, just no, like, dude, sorry,
it's just blinders,
like, just
on.
Like,
yeah,
just like, I don't know, again, it's like I was trying to say when you were, like, sorry, I wasn't trying to cut you off, but, like, it should be secondary. Anything after that should be secondary, even if just for the moment.
Yeah.
Even if you just take a pause. I'm not saying, like, again, like, if this is something that's important to people, their religion, I'm not saying it can never exist again. I'm just saying, like, if there's no penalty, there's no change. And if there's no change, then what is this? Again, it is a criminal organization. It doesn't mean you can't flip it to something better. But there has to be a pause at least. And so that's the kind of thing of, like, if one of my friends had, like, raped children for 10 years, I wouldn't be like, well, he did help me change a tire once. So I can't imagine he's all bad. I would be like, he's all bad. And every once in a while he helps you with a tire. Like, I'd have to take pause with my relationship to that man, even if he did nice things for me at some point. Even if he was a good hang. But I found out he was raping kids. I'd at least have to take a pause and be like, well, maybe not,
maybe we won't go there for
maybe
dinner
not bring
every
out
Sunday.
Maybe not bring out the fun times we had hanging out in college. I know those can still be nice times in my memory, but maybe not bring that up now. Maybe take a pause and realize, like, that's secondary to the brutal rape of children he's being accused of right now.
Yeah.
So it is weird, you know what I mean? And yeah, I don't know. I don't know how people
I mean, again, like, I try not to take it personally.
It's deep,
it really is, because it's just because it's so tied to my own. It's about me, not them. It's to some extent, right? Because I'm just like, I feel guilty about not being Catholic or wanting to be Catholic at all, even though that's, like, my heritage, right?
I feel guilty about
Well, no, because I'm Catholic.
Yeah.
But, like,
shit's so fucked up.
I know, and so, like, anytime I feel that, I'm just like, like that. Again, like I said, that manipulation comes at you hard and fast from the get-go, and, like, you are just warped into thinking that you again, like this is the riddle, and it's all the answer is always you questioning is just the devil, and you just need to believe more. It's nonsense. And again, like I said, I feel like I know good Catholics. I know like that organization, that like safe house I just wrote about. Like there are good things coming out of the Catholic Church again. Like, but I feel like too many people will lean on that as like, see, it's not the church, it's just these people, and it's like, just make yourself your own organization and get funding that way.
Well, that's what I always think. That would be my final point, because that's kind of what I was thinking. Is like, I always never know why, because again, I just don't think the organization is the faith. And once you do that, like, it just seems like
separating totally.
So to me, it's like always like there was that one. I don't know. I watched some documentary. I think it's Baptist. It's not Catholic, but it's like one of the Christian faiths. They have like a gay bishop or some shit. You know what I mean? I don't know if you remember, because he was kind of famous for a minute, or maybe he's even I don't know, Unitarian, or I don't even know if he's a bishop, because I don't know if they have bishop. He got some high-ranking fucking voodoo thing, grand wizard of whatever his church is, but he was gay.
Yeah.
You know, like legal age gay, like over 18 gay, and you know, I was like, oh, we're so
progressive.
But it's like, dude, the Bible, again, like, here's what I don't understand. Can we again state clearly that the Bible unequivocally 100% is against homosexuality? Right? There's no arguing that, right?
I don't think so.
Because even though I've heard every time people bring up the like lay with man as womankind thing, and then I always hear scholars like, well, I think they're actually talking about this. That doesn't matter to me, because what matters to me is that if you have sex with a woman for any reason besides procreation, it's a sin, right? So if you're having sex with a man, it's not for procreation, so therefore it's a sin. So to me, all these people that are like, I call them Bible apologists, no. It's against God's law in Christianity to have sex with a man. It just is. It 100% is. You will never convince me otherwise. So my point is, if you think that is wrong if you think it's wrong to be against gay people and how they choose to live their lives, which I do, then the rest of that Bible is hokum to me, right? Because if one thing's wrong, it's all wrong, because it's supposed to be all right. So if I find one flaw, then it's... So my point is, so the gay bishop, he's an Uncle Tom to me. Or an Uncle Tomas, whatever the gay version of Tom would be. The Uncle Tommy, he's an Uncle Tommy. Because it's like, no, you've turned your back on your people. Because your people, I mean, I guess you could say my people are these Christians as well as the gay community, but you've turned your back on one part of your people, because that religion is clearly against them. And my point is to me, what's braver, again, this guy's so brave, he's an openly gay Christian figure. That's not brave to me. That's weak. That's the ultimate weakness. To not realize that this God in this particular faith and the people in this faith, they hate you. And you'd rather placate them so you don't have to leave it because it feels safe to you. You're weak. You're a weak person. I don't like you.
You don't think that he's like
I don't think you're
their minds?
Nope, I don't think you're an inspiration. I would not want my child to be like you, and I don't mean gay. I think you're weak. Well, I don't think movies should be made about you, except to say, look at this fucking loser. Look at this weak loser. Because what would be brave is to say, the church I love doesn't love me, so I'm going to leave. But I don't think a church gets dominion over what God is and what God thinks.
Right.
I believe in a God that's 99.9% as the Christian God, but I believe he loves me the way I am and loves me despite who I love. So I don't need a church. I like preaching, so I rent this hall once a week, and if you want to come, I will preach to you about God and love and community. But I can't be a part of something that hates me. And the idea of molding myself in any way to fit that's not progressive change. That's me changing to fit a hateful narrative.
It's almost like pandering,
proposed by an organization. Now that's the brave thing to say, but he did it. He sold out a part of who he is and a group of people that are like him just so he could wear a goofy robe and be inside a giant building. You know, it's fucked up. It's fucked up. And I wish more people thought like that. And it's the same way. You want to believe in God? You want to believe in the God of the Catholic Bible? Keep believing. But to tithe to that church, to even fund it with your presence, to even just give it the spiritual funding of your presence there every Sunday. You're not brave. You're not forgiving. You're not for redemption. You're weak. You're boring. You're not a good person.
Oh, man.
You can go believe in God anywhere. To choose to do it there just because, like, my family goes there and I've been going for blah, blah, blah years. Whatever weak-ass, lame, bullshit excuse you give to yourself and the people around you, you're not. You're weak and you're a bad person. I judge you for doing that.
The last time I was in a Catholic church was my grandma's funeral. And I remember getting so angry at the priest because they give the homily about where they usually talk about the person who they don't know. It's so weird. Again, like the thought of getting married in a Catholic church by this person who doesn't really know us feels so like cold. But anyway, so he was talking about how they just don't make women like these are not his words, but basically they don't make women like Carolyn anymore. And like that's a type of woman that you just won't find nowadays. And what he meant was subservient.
Well, look,
they're
not all wrong, Jackie. I mean, they make good points. I mean,
but I was
even
like,
a broken clock is right twice a day.
There was this like lament. He was trying to do this like, we're gonna miss her. What a great person. What a great mother and wife. She was so caring. But instead of saying that, he makes it this like weird ass like almost political statement about women and their rights. And I just remember looking around like, guys, this is fucked up. This is our grandma's funeral. Like, also, have I told? I think I've just. But
well, no one knows about women like a Catholic priest.
Right.
If you ain't smelled a pussy, you can't be talking about
my,
women.
My grandma,
Padre.
I think she could sense in me that I was a little more liberal around the edges than the rest of the family, and I interviewed her one time a few years before she died, and we were talking about something, and she said I forget what I asked her because this was so startling, like it just all left my mind, but she goes, well, Jackie, back then it was face down, ass up. I couldn't fucking believe she said that. I'd never heard her swear. We don't talk about anything related to sex, let alone that. You know what I mean? Like, it was her way of being like, hey, like, it just showed me that she had this recognition of how unfair things had been and how she had sort of conformed to that to survive, right? So then to have this fucking monster up there talking about, like, this type of woman, so sad to see her go. And it's like, you don't care about the woman in that box. You care about what you think. Anyway.
Face down, ass up. It's sad because if your grandma was born a mere 60 years after she was actually born, she could have been a great hip-hop artist.
Oh. Well, it's just so crazy because I feel like she was such an artist, and like she totally would have had an Etsy account now, and like she would have been so cool, and she would have loved the modern age. I bet.
Let's not equate Etsy account to being so cool.
Well, do you know what I mean though? Of like having I know you're just trying to make a joke, but anyway. So again,
don't say it with a sigh.
Just trying to make jokes. So every time I feel like every time I go back to church and hope maybe things have changed or like we've grown a little, I'm just like, this is why I'm not a part of this. Like, yeah. I asked my most liberal cousin when we were at the like after party, the funeral, what's that called? The wake, I guess.
I don't know.
The after party. And I was like, could you believe that like that he was I was like, I felt like I got kind of upset when he was talking about, they don't make women like this anymore, and like she's like, oh yeah, I guess you're right, I didn't even think about that. And I was like, how'd you not fucking think? Just the type of like the blinders that go up as soon as you enter a church is just.
You were dealing with people that go to church on a regular basis.
No, she doesn't.
And so they have learned to not pay attention. You know what I mean? That's what I mean. Like, that's what I never understood about church. It's just like a bunch of people going through motions.
Well, I would love to go as a kid because you'd see what people were wearing.
Yeah, but that's what it is.
Anyway, let's go on.
Topic two. Well, that's your topic. Okay. Get us into it, brah.
So, mine's more of a general, less rapey topic. It's about book out. It's called it's called Small Animals, Parenthood in the Age of Fear. And there, again, an NPR article just about with an interview with the author, Kim Brooks, about parenting nowadays. And like, anyway, I don't really care about the parenting aspect. The whole thing that leads her book is that she was running late and she went to Target and like parked in the car, and she left her 4-year-old in the car while she ran in to get something. Well, someone called the cops on her, and she got arrested for like endangering, I forget the exact charges,
Child
but
endangerment.
Contributing to the delinquency of a minor.
I thought that was like if you buy them booze or something.
A bystander had filmed her leaving the car and sent the recording to the police. So anyway, but what I think is most interesting is this, and I know it's a marketing term, but like, you know, or they're putting it in the sub-headline to gain traction on a shelf, right? But that idea of that we're living in the age of fear. Do you think that's true? Can we talk about fear?
How does she relate that to her story, though?
I mean, just that, like, we live in fear of leaving children alone without parental supervision.
I don't think that story is. I think this woman's a little crazy. I mean, you're not supposed to leave your kid in the car. Was it hot?
I don't know.
I guess if it's not hot,
that's a good question.
I guess if it's not hot, it's not as bad. But still, like, I don't know. I think it's like one of those.
So you do think it was neglectful?
A little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I get it. Being a parent must be awful. That's why I've chosen not to do it thus far. But, and you want to be like, dude, I just want to fucking get a candy bar
just
or whatever.
Run in and out.
Or it's probably something like important. You know, I got this thing for fucking dinner tonight, or I got this thing I need for work. And
yeah, you gotta take your kid with you.
Oh, this fucking kid, he's just gonna feel. I'll shut the fuck up. You know, like.
Oh,
if
great.
I just leave him in the car, like, but you can't. I mean, you decided to make a stupid thing. You got to deal with it. You know what I mean? I don't know. But anyways, but we could talk about the age of fear thing. I just think it's just like, you ever been to like a party like that where someone's like, I know the world's gotten so soft. Like, you can't even like drop the N-word now. And it's like, I think like the world. So,
yeah, still.
Like, cause you're like on board. You're like, yeah, I know. It's like, you know, like you can't even like, you know, you got to worry about like what pronoun you use. You might get like yelled at. I'm like, I mean, I'll say the right one if you tell me. I was just guessing. I wasn't trying to be offensive. So, yeah, I know. It's like fucking used to just be able to like kind of like beat up a Samoan and no one cared. Now it's like they all got their groups.
And you just walk away
like,
slowly.
So that's like her. Like, I know we live in the age of fear. Like,
you used to be able to just shuffle around priests from parish to parish.
Now you
got it. You get fined if you covered it up. Not even if you fucked him.
Yeah, but that's why I feel like that's kind of a good thing. Like, we live in an age of fear. Oh, because like the media kind of perpetuates fear in order to gain ad revenue, you know, stuff like that. It's like, yeah, and like, you know, like you leave your kid in the car for like 15 minutes unsupervised on a hot day, and everyone's like, he could die in there. It actually happens very quickly, and I'm like, whatever.
That's hilarious.
So, that's what it. But anyways, do we live in the age of fear? I don't know. More so than when, like, you know, like, are people retarded? Like, you know what I mean? Like, the age of, I mean, I know this gets brought up a lot of times. People complain, and it's like I always tell you,
you don't feel more afraid.
Well, we talk about your child
than you did when Barack Obama was president.
Well, we talk about your childhood, right? And something I always tell you is, right, you got to do both things. You got to frame things through your own experience and not be afraid to feel. And you have to frame things outside of your experience. But you should not give less weight to A because you also do B. B makes you a good person. A gives you the ability to work on yourself, which is an overall positive goal. Meaning, you know, you are, I mean, it's hard to think I had a bad childhood when there's kids starving in Ethiopia, right? They're born into poverty. They live to be 12. That sounds horrific. My childhood wasn't nearly that bad, right? And I always say, like, that's good that you recognize empathy. You have empathy for other people. It's a positive thing. But if bad things happen to you, even if it's not as bad as someone in sub-Saharan Africa, you can still recognize that as wrong that was done to you and, you know, have grief for it and work on it. And I think kind of the same thing with fear. Like, do we have more fear now than we did under Barack Obama? I don't know, maybe. But still, I consider the age of fear when saber-toothed tigers were running around. And, you know, like if you didn't make fire, you died 3 months out of the year just because it got too cold. You know, that seems like a more fearful age. I feel relatively secure. Violent crime is at the lowest rate it's ever been in United States history. It has been every year since the 70s. I mean,
it's interesting you bring up the news cycle too, because I feel like, I mean, she talks about the availability heuristic and how, you know, if people will, they don't really rely on data or statistics when making a decision. It's more, I mean, we're so primal in our brains, you know, like just you'll think of a story you've heard about. I mean, I do that all the time, you know, like, oh, but I heard this thing, so maybe I won't go there, versus like, well, maybe if you knew the numbers, it's more unsafe to go here, and that's where you're going, you know.
I think
and so then, but like the news if you're hearing all these stories, like,
I just think like
you're gonna pull that up.
And it was that is that her hypothesis, or am I just
no that's what? No,
I said, is that her hypothesis, or am I actually just
no? That's like a term. Like it's been.
Well, I'm just saying, is her hypothesis that we feel more fear, or there's more things to be fearful of?
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like the book is more just an exploration of the fear that she has as a parent.
It sounds fucking stupid. She sounds retarded.
The 21st. Oh my god.
I mean, good topic though. You were good for bringing it up, but this woman sounds awful.
I don't think so.
Honestly, she sounds kind of like what she hates. Like that's what my point would be. Is like, I don't feel more fear, nor do I feel justified in feeling it, nor should really anybody per se. But you know, even marginalized groups, like, you always have more fear, but I don't think you should have substantially more under Trump, relatively. I don't know, but I would agree, if we're talking about the age of fear, the monetization of fear is at an all-time high. You know, and I think that's through media and advertising and all those things. I mean, you know, the monetization of fear is an all-time high.
Like making money off of scaring people?
Yeah, and I mean, that's...
Or sort of leaning into the fears.
Both. You know, and that's what I'm saying is
maybe
like...
one and the same.
I mean, we talk about outrage culture. I mean, outrage culture is definitely fueled by fear culture, right? I mean, right? You know, like, here's a video of a cop shooting somebody. Be scared of the cops, right? And then... You know, and then another side of the fence, you know, it's not like they even hear another argument. They literally hear like, here's a black guy beating up a cop. Be scared of black guys. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And we need to protect these cops, right? Mm-hmm. So everyone's selling fear. No one's selling like rationality. You know what I mean? I mean, there's like relatively, I'm not saying there's no one, but there's relatively no one's getting the voice of like, well, hey, let's like look at the numbers of attacks on police versus attacks by police, and like, let's look at some structural changes we could do in law enforcement doing things better. It's like, no, you need to call them sir and be respectful, and nothing. If you're not doing something illegal, you don't need to worry about the cops. And then you got other people being like, this is the next genocide. We are living in Hitler's America. And, you know, it's like, all right, yeah, you both sound a little freaked out. Like, you both sound, but I don't think either one is fair. I can maybe agree with one a lot more than the other, the latter. You know, I think the cops are definitely getting the better end of the murder stick, and they should be held more accountable. But I'm not. Yeah. I don't think the fear. Even if you're like, again, even if you are scared, which is if you're a black man between the ages of 16 and 20, you should be concerned. But to be scared. The people that are scaring you want something from you, probably your money, even if it's just through ad dollars from getting your eyeballs. You know, I think concern and, you know, a reasonable approach to fixing institutional problems and policing would be better than fear. But, I mean, how are they going to sell you Diet Coke, you know, without that fear? You know what I mean? So, you know, don't you think that's always weird again? Like, I know they talk about, like, advertising, like, you know, like, well, if we're not going to pay for the news, we have to advertise and that shit. And I get it. Again, it's like capitalism. I get it. But shouldn't there be some... Don't you always feel gross when you're like, oh, there was a shooting? Like a mass shooting. This is like... I don't know about this. Like, this is like important information.
And, like
it's like real sad. And then, it just pops up like...
Your video will continue.
Bonobos, buy a new jacket. And then you're like... And then it's like, 18 dead. Terrorist shooting. Racially motivated is the, suspect. And it's just like... Gee, there should be some things you shouldn't be allowed to advertise in front of, you know what I mean?
Right.
It just feels ugly, right?
Like, at least
the district attorney has released the body cam footage.
It feels so different from a TV ad, right? Where like, okay, here comes the commercial. I'm gonna go leave and fill my water glass.
Or they even say like, we'll be right back. We'll be back right after this.
Like
but
online, it seems to be more like, okay.
I mean, literally, like the DA has just released body cam footage of the officer-involved shooting. We warn our viewers, this is very graphic, but if you click the link below, you can watch, and then you like click it, and it's like, Tide Pods, get your laundry 10 times cleaner than the leading brand. And it's just like some
so jarring.
Some fucking secret KKK member in a fucking blue uniform being like, "Get down! It's either a burrito or a gun." 85 shots later, it was a burrito.
Oh shit!
And you're like, "Oh man, I feel like I need to do laundry. Why do I feel like I just saw someone murdered by someone in a position of power and authority? Why do I feel the need to do laundry? I wonder if Tide could get out those blood stains. Why am I even thinking that?"
Yeah.
It's gross.
I don't know. I feel like my fear recently has just come from like just being afraid of the just so divisive. Like and it's not even that I don't think there's anything wrong with divisive language or rhetoric or ideas, right? But I don't feel like we are talking through ideas. There's just a lot of like on both sides this feeling of like if you don't say the right thing, you're out. I think that's what is more fearful for me anyway. But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting age of fear.
I think that woman sounds fucking stupid, but yeah, your points and your topic was good.
But I think that
can't even leave your kid in the car anymore. I was just like, that's your lead? That you're like, I wrote a whole book based off that. It's like, yeah, I probably can skip that one. Seems skippable.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess
like I
more
said,
like
you're smart
no.
and your topic was fine.
To be fair to her, just knowing how publishing works, Age of Fear probably wasn't even her title. So,
well, I'm just seeing.
But you're seeing more of a problem with that anecdote.
If you're saying that's what made me realize we live in an age of fear, is some woman took it upon herself to be so scared that a child might die the way hundreds of child have died before. I mean, are we that scared anymore? We're just scared kids will die the way
Do we have nothing else to worry about?
Except worrying about a real worry where like you know, someone like
a kid might die.
A kid just died that way like 2 years ago. Remember that dad had to go to jail?
So sad.
Like, and this woman felt the need to help this kid from possibly dying.
Did he go to jail?
I think he did.
For endangerment?
I think it was, something like murder. I think he like murder or something.
Really? But that wasn't it an accident? That just seems a little harsh.
I mean, you're literally like rehashing the debate. Wouldn't that be considered an accident by some?
It's a little harsh.
He seemed like really fucked up about it, and so I was kind of like,
that's sad.
I don't know. I think the punishment
having to live with
is
that the rest of your
fucking
life.
crime. It's all one thing. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of when you meter out punishment, right? When it's like to kind of balance things out. I'm like, I think that guy's fucking balanced, man. I think he feels pretty bad.
Right.
You know, I think it's tough. It's like, yeah, I mean, if you're a parent, you're responsible for a child, but like every time he dies, is it your fault? I mean, if you do it. But seriously, I mean,
no, just you worded that funny.
Kids die very easily. You know what I mean? And he was irresponsible, but like he had again, like, have you never done some dumbass shit?
No.
You know,
and
just imagine
so hard.
Now just replace that dumbass shit that you probably did like leaving your phone on the roof of your car or whatever shit you did, and now replace it with a kid. And imagine being sad, and then someone's like, you fucking did this on purpose, kind of, or like, you should be punished. I'd be like, I'm punished, dude. Like, I don't know. And it just, he did something wrong, and like, but again, that's really the reason why. I guess that is the reason why. It's not that he didn't do something wrong, or them forgiving it, or even saying like, oh, it's a mistake. It's like, it's a mistake, which those can still be punished. But when you couple that with like, he feels bad, man. Like he looks like devastated. Like I think we could call this one kind of a wash. You know what I mean? Like
a Tide Pod wash.
Okay. That was so bad.
That was so good. That was a good callback.
Can I tell you one warning about this Cuba Libre
Do you
del
feel
Pobre?
drunk?
No.
Oh.
The warning is that once the ice runs out, it is not as tasty.
Oh,
so
okay. Gotta keep it
drink
nice
it quick or
why?
keep it
Because it gets
heavily.
watery, or because it gets not cold?
It's warm.
Oh, okay.
So imagine how not
Sure.
refreshing hot pop is.
Hot pop.
Now imagine it's
Hot
hot boozy pop.
Yeah, that sounds gross.
It's not great.
Would you like a hot boozy pop?
Would you like a hot boozy pop? All right, topic 3. Let's close this bitch out. We're running long, aren't we? Let's look at the timestamp. Not too bad, actually. You know, we're doing these long intros, and we're not going super, super long.
I know. I kind of like the tighter topic.
Tweet us about how much you like the last 2 podcasts. I feel like they've Excuse me. Maybe I'm hammered. I feel like they follow a similar format, and they've both been some of my favorites. All right. So, Trump.
This is topic 3.
Yeah, Trump. The headline is, Trump finally orders flags lower to honor John McCain. So I guess...
Was he, like, holding out because he didn't like him?
He put a pregnant pause on that, lowering the fucking
what
flags.
A dick. He's such a dirtbag. Oh, man, so petty.
He's just like...
So petty.
It's like almost fucking funny. You know what I mean? Like, he is like... That's why, like, he is the gallows humor. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just, again, like, and again, I know people, like, use this analogy, but it just works for all these things. Imagine someone wrote a movie, and the character was this, like, narcissistic, like, blowhard leader figure.
Even the way he looks,
he just hated this guy who died so much for such dumb reasons, and he was a guy that was, like, relatively revered amongst the general populace, and he was just like, you know, wait 8 hours, then lower the flags. Like, you'd almost be like, this is brilliant writing. Just because, like, I feel like just a sophomore English class, just someone being like, and the detail about how he waited to lower the flags, it was just so petty and nuanced, but you could see the just hate and the kind of...
It was really good I understood the character. That
I understood him.
Total dick.
Yeah. But anyway, so Donald Trump did a very Donald Trump fucking thing, which is just, it's almost hilarious.
Psycho.
It is hilarious. I would say it is hilarious, and it's almost deeply cripplingly sad. And
so does the president order when flags go half-mast?
I don't know, maybe.
Because I guess, like, what? So, yeah.
Well,
I
it's the one on the White House. I said that,
okay.
right? Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Maybe I didn't say that because that wasn't in the headline. Yeah. It says, just after midnight on Sunday night, the flag flying above the White House was hoisted back to full staff. Since Saturday evening, it had been positioned at half staff. Did Trump say something? Is that...
No, I saw the thing where they were trying to ask him.
President Donald Trump initially tweeted condolences for McCain's family, but did not praise the senator specifically. On Monday afternoon, he issued a statement saying, despite our differences on policy and politics, I respect Senator John McCain's service to our country. Earlier Monday, the White House flag had returned to its regular position, even as other flags around Washington, including at the U.S. Capitol, remained in the half-staff morning position. But on Monday afternoon, the White House once again lowered the flag to half-staff, and Trump, in his statement, said he signed a proclamation to fly the flag of the United States at half-staff until the day of his internment.
Which he's not invited to.
So McCain is like a little petty bitch, too. The White House has become fucking, what is that, Pretty Little Liars.
Oh, jeez.
These fucking, I just think that all the time. These, like, I mean, John McCain, this feeble old, can't lift his fucking arms above his shoulders, brain, like, riddled with cancer, and the Trump, this, like, I just can't stop thinking that picture of him playing tennis. And he just looks like Jello with a head on it. You know what I mean? And essentially him doing something athletic.
It reminds me of Eric Trump. Remember the photo of him with the pop? Like he got a water.
That's fun. But you know what I mean? This is like these the people we pick for our leaders. Because like I would just have.
Well, there's a big difference between John McCain and Donald Trump.
But still, I'd have more respect for us if we just elected like The Rock as president. Because it's like, oh, like a giant, bulky, yelling guy. Like that seems more apish, you know, like more ancestral. I don't even know what this is. Like I just think of, like, that's why I was talking about it the other day with someone. I was just like, you know, like when Donald Trump and like Kim Jong-un like argue back and forth, like wouldn't you just love to see them like fist fight and just like how pathetic it would be? Like if any of these leaders had to fist fight, like would anyone respect them the next day? You'd be like, I can't believe I followed that guy. He's like, he got winded in 10 seconds. It would just, I don't know, it's just so weird to me, the people we choose. And then, like I said, then they get so, like, 14-year-old girl. Oh, no, pull the flag back up. He can't come to my funeral. Oh, just like, what's fucking wrong with these people? Anyways, but this is the fun topic.
I do think it's hilarious that
we've been talking about rape and dead kids up until now.
Trump is not invited to his funeral.
Yeah. Well, we've been talking about rape and dead kids up to this point, so let's lighten it, and let's just turn the question on to us. is there something petty you would do related to your funeral? Or, like I said, you could do it through Trump's eyes, too. Is there something petty you would do to someone you didn't like that died and their funeral? What's some petty-ass death shit you could conjure up? What do you want to do when you die? You want cremation? You want buried? We should probably have talked about this off air as a married couple, too.
That's just heavy.
I think I want to do cremated. It just makes the most sense.
Did you know my family has a plot of land where we could be buried?
I don't want to go there.
Yeah, but don't you want a headstone? Maybe we could get a joint headstone.
Yeah, you can get a headstone with that. Or I don't know. Let's just let's just like donate money to get like a brick in the library. Like let's like get a brick in a library. Just
no,
like some
here's what I would like to do.
I
would like to be cremated because environment, but I would also like a headstone with our birth dates on it. And we can like come up. We'll just do a joint one, and we'll do like a little epitaph, a cool ass epitaph.
Yeah, head up, head
LO-class.com. So I think my petty
still plugging even after death. Gotta plug the cast. Head down, ass up. I think that should be that.
No, do not make a joke about my grandma's vulnerability with me. That's too far.
That's not a joke about that.
That's
totally not a joke about that. That's just a funny.
I don't like
callback.
that callback. That's not
great
good.
Callback.
You cannot make fun of my callback earlier and then do that terrible callback and be
it's
like,
because it wasn't
this is
like
a callback.
It wasn't in like it was just you just said it.
Anyway,
my thing. I think my.
Can I answer the question?
No, not to you. My thing was objectionably better and also not offensive.
I'm not saying that because it wasn't.
All right, what's your petty ass shit, bitch?
Yeah, that's right.
You've been listening to too much gangster rap recently. You got a real attitude problem.
Because I don't live in the age of fear anymore.
Okay.
I live in my very white rap gangster world.
All right,
okay.
I jinxed us because we are going to run long now. We got to do our answers. What's your answer?
I would do what you're saying, where I would put my money towards something. Maybe I'd give it to the defense funds for those little Catholic kids.
And you think that would be petty because, like, your whole family's Catholic?
It's not even petty because, like, I don't think I would even want to do something petty to anyone.
That's kind
like,
of what I thought.
I love my family.
I don't really
love my friends. I love you. Like, I don't think there's anyone I would want to be petty toward. It'd be more like a statement of, like, I feel like my family, if anything, they've given a lot of money to the church. It'd be like, well, I'm going to put my money toward, which I wouldn't even do that. I'd give my money to you or my nieces and nephews for shit.
Face it.
Like
we're gonna die poor, so that's not gonna be an issue.
I don't have any petty shit then.
Yeah.
I guess the most rebellious thing I could do would be to get cremated.
Well, maybe what you would do then is, since we won't have any money because we've chosen to be artists, but you could do that shit of like in lieu of flowers, please donate money to the Child Butthole Defense Fund or whatever, I'm sure it has a more classy name than that, but yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking, the same thing as you. I'm like, I'm dead.
I don't care. Yeah.
I want to be in literal peace. No more petty shit either. No more worrying about
petty shit. And like, I feel like that I don't want to hurt my family more than I already do. With my life, I don't want to hurt them with my death.
I was thinking my petty thing was, man, I'm just gonna outlive everybody, but like not because I want to, not like that's the goal. Just being. I think I'll end up being that old guy that like outlives everybody, even though I don't deserve to, both spiritually or physically, and then just be like 80.
Who'll be like him, that guy.
Just be like, I want to die, but I outlived them all, so kind of fuck them. Like that kind of like I don't know, that shit, that kind of like petty shit about that. That's but funny. That's about it. That's all I could think of really. So I don't know.
Do you remember that we did this on FemComPod maybe a year and a half ago of like I forget what country leader died and he had like a funeral parade with like strippers on the cars and stuff.
Maybe I do remember that. We did talk about it. Talked about like awesome funeral plans. I definitely like if I knew I was gonna die, like if it wasn't sudden, maybe I should just like a will. Maybe I should just have it ready. I just think like I'd have to keep adding to it. I guess like a will as things change. I definitely like.
You just described.
I want a funeral playlist. You know what I mean? I want something that you play at my funeral, like while people are doing.
Like what song?
So, no, just like let's say like a playlist, like 3 hours of songs that you just put on.
I know,
shuffle.
but like what? Like
I don't know. Songs I like.
Your final act will be your party.
I've always loved making playlists for parties and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was even at a party recently, and they had just like a Bluetooth speaker and a phone.
You are good at it.
Yeah, like someone like. I think like the music just stopped for a little while, but like people were talking and shit. We were just like in a backyard, and someone was like, "Where's the music? Put some music on." And the girl like, she like played a song, and she was like, it was like the girl whose like house it was at, and she's like, "I don't like really know what to play. What should I play?" And I was like, "Just give me your phone," and I just use like the queue function to just queue up like 25 songs. And I just like put the phone down, started playing like cornhole or something, and then like everyone was just like song.
Oh, I thought you for a
like
second. I thought you said I started playing Corn.
Started playing Corn. There's 20 Corn
Big
songs.
party
in
hit.
a row. Like the same song. The same Corn song over and over. Not even a variety of Corn songs. One Corn song on repeat. But no, just like after every song, everyone's like, "Yeah, good song." Like it was just like a big hit.
Yeah.
And I was like, I love making a playlist.
So you want to watch?
So I want the
ultimate.
I want like the ultimate playlist. Plus, you know what I do like, even though I'm not a very like spiritual person in terms of like beliefs and kind of the ethereal and whatnot. I do love those I love when people have those moments. You know, I always think they're kind of hokum, but I think it's like fun to watch. So I think it would be nice to like have a playlist and people know I curated the playlist, and just like I think like individually, like in everyone's mind at different points, like, you know, like, because like if you like a song throughout your life, you've probably played it at different points in your life with people around. So I just like, I would love to just like have like everyone at separate times in their own mind, just like a song would come up and they would kind of just like look up at the ceiling and be like, and they would just like think to themselves like, oh man, I remember in college, oh, we had that crazy night and Justin like played this song and we were like dancing to it. I bet even though it's on shuffle, a little bit of his life force just pushed that next button right to this song. He's talking to me right now, and I just want to say, I hear you, buddy. I bet but everyone's having those things because it is random and there is no afterlife, and ha ha ha. So that's my petty thing too. It's like, ha ha, JK, I'm dead. It's on shuffle. You're just trying to attach meaning to it. You're trying to make connections. That's what we do. That's why we think there's a God, because everything has to make sense. But the reality is nothing makes sense. We can't handle that. Our brain's not evolved enough to handle the chaos, so we just create patterns. We create patterns when they're not there. We see faces in trees. It's all bullshit. We see elephants in the clouds. It's not. It's random molecules. Nothing matters. I'm dead. It doesn't matter. I'm not picking songs. Even if I was, why would I hang out with you and pick songs? I'm going to fly through the atmosphere and see geometric shapes and patterns like I'm on mushrooms for the rest of eternity. You're going to hang out at a funeral? Even it's my funeral. It's a funeral. It's sad. And I'm going to play songs for you because we took one biology class together sophomore. You get the fuck over yourself. Not only are you just a fucking ape in the world of evolution just making arbitrary patterns, you're also a narcissist. You talk to someone about that. So that's my petty last act.
I hope you put a clip of that into the shuffle.
Just watch 40 people at once. Like, he really was an asshole. I don't even know how he came to this thing.
Give me back my flowers.
Yeah, I was trying to I was trying to not be a Trump and be like, look, I know I thought you were an asshole when you were alive, but you're dead asshole now. I can at least show respect. But he is an asshole. Who puts that in the middle of the shuffle? I'm just trying to have a moment, trying to believe in something. He's always got something cunty to say about something. Jesus, Justin fucking guy.
That should be your epitaph. Always Justin Golak, 1984 to 2018.
Oh God,
always got something cunty to
year?
say. I know. As soon as I said that, I was like, Jackie, do not put that
again.
Out into the
in
universe.
Terms of, that's what I'm saying.
Did I at least get your birth year right?
84, yeah. How bad are you gonna feel if I die now this year?
Dude, I will feel like that man who killed his child.
I know you'd be like, it'd be the double devastation of not having me, and also being like, I think I did that through energy.
And that we didn't have a baby before you left. That would be really sad.
I think they do that thing where you can like extract my sperm post-mortem,
really?
and you can shoot it.
Is that a thing? Oh, good. Then I'll just kill you. And
I
then
think
get
that
your
was like
sperm.
a Law and Order episode though, so it might not be real. I mean, they're not too fantastical. It's not like CSI. Like, they're pretty nuts and bolts.
Oh,
but I think that was like,
what was I just watching? What was that baseball player I was talking to you about? The famous baseball player.
I don't know, but this feels like regular conversation. Should we close the podcast?
No,
but
basically they froze his body. It's not Ted Turner. Ted Williams. I mean,
they just froze his head though.
Well, and then there was like a story about like that a can of cat tuna like had gotten frozen to his head because that's what the people in the morgue had like put his head on to rest, and then like I don't know. I don't know if it's true or not, but it was funny. And then they had to like chisel away the and I was just like, this is why you don't freeze a body, because even if that story isn't true, that's now in the ether, and that's
it's also like that's
all
why
I will think of Ted Turner Williams.
Throw me in the fire, baby. Just throw me in the fucking fire. Let's get it over with. It was a good run.
Where do you want me to put your ashes if you do die in 2018?
You know, I was talking to my mom about her death. She is still alive,
Aww.
but she's gonna die eventually, as we all are. Best podcast on the internet. And Remembering Your Mortality with Justin Golak. Hey everybody, we're all gonna die and none of this matters. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to go to patreon.com/LOClass no dash and you can support this podcast. And just remember, even if you don't or if you do, it doesn't matter because everything is finite. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to Remembering Your Mortality with Justin Golak. No, but she said she was thinking, because when her mom, my grandma, died, she's got her in an urn and has her just on like a shelf somewhere. And she was saying she was thinking about maybe like getting little vials, like little things, and scooping some of my grandma and put them in little ones if someone wanted some. Like if she has 3 brothers, if one of the but
that's weird.
I don't know. She didn't know I'm doing that, but I think she said she wanted something similar where she's like, you know, you can keep the big chunk of me, but if anyone wants little pieces of me, give them. And I think she may wanted to sprinkle. She's like, you can sprinkle some like on the beach, you know, by the water, somewhere warm, which is very her.
That's so her.
My dad always gave like stupid fucking dad answers, but like
what?
But I think like sincerely, but just like
just
there's that certain dad energy that's like, oh man, you're like, but it's almost envious, like. You just wear yourself down so like, don't you feel sometimes like desensitized, you know, to like life? Because like life can be like, when you're a millennial, life can be like kind of tight sometimes. Like everything's designed to just like be pleasurable and happy, so it's like just ratchets it up. Whereas like a dad's like, all he does is just like work a shitty job like 50 hours a week. So he's like, oh, my dream, if I won the lottery, you know, I just get an A-frame house. And just, you know, somewhere by the like a lake. Not, you mean by like the ocean, like the Pacific?
No, the lake.
Just like a lake, Minnesota, you know, anywhere. Maybe Lake Michigan. I don't know. Like, we'll see what the property taxes are like, but, you know, like, because that's a big lake. But, you know, and I'll just get a bench and, you know, I'll probably still do part-time work, you know, just because I like to keep busy. And then I'll just sit on a bench and just read, maybe do a little fishing. It's like, that's what I would just... I'll do blow till I died. Cause like like if I won the lottery, cause nothing else, cause I can do that with you know, like Airbnb and Uber. Like it's just all set up. Life's set up for my pleasure. I just have such a high bar. So it's just funny. So I think that's how dads even think about death. Like, oh, you know, it would be so peaceful. Just cremate me and just spread my ashes on a golf course. That's what he's given me that answer multiple times. I'm just like, you corny ass dad.
Does he golf?
Yeah.
Okay.
But isn't that just like a corny-ass dad answer? Couldn't you picture your dad saying something like that? Like
no.
If he had a favorite well, yeah, he's going to get buried because of that shit, but I don't know. Just one of those things like, just sprinkle me on a golf course. Just like, oh, you boring-ass dad answer. But like also envious. I wish I didn't like worry about how my playlist goes at my funeral. It could just be sprinkled on and not even like his favorite any golf course, you know? Any day playing golf's better than a day at work, right? Corny ass dad shit. I love him though. He's a good guy. But just fucking, I feel like I'm like my generation, but even like at my age, like I feel like young for my age. So I feel like I'm like a generation, like I'm a half generation ahead of my like I relate to people 5 years younger than me more than 5 years older than me sometimes.
Yeah.
And I feel like my dad relates to people 20 years older than rather than 10 years younger than him. So I feel like we're almost like the generation gap is our real one generation gap plus like a half gap the other way of each of us. So we're really like 2 generations apart. Like sometimes I love my dad to fucking pieces, but I literally feel like I'm talking to a great grandpa. You're fucking old ass, like watching just sports with him and his horrible old white guy stuff. Like, oh, what's all this dancing in there? You've just scored a touchdown. Act like you've been there before. And it's like, why even watch sports? It's entertaining. You just want them to just score points? That's not exciting, you know? Because it's even like plays. Like, I I mean, he didn't have to die for that one. My dad said shit like that before. Yeah, but wasn't that more exciting to watch? You watch this for like this. He's that guy. Like he's that guy with great fundamentals. You know, like that. He just gets excited off of great fundamentals. You know, he practiced that foul shot a lot. That was the way he bends at the knees. Beautiful. That excites me. I'm like, no, talk shit, get in fights, like dunks. Like he just scoffs at just a two-handed dunk. Just like, used to be a technical foul to even touch the rim when I played. You're 60, I know, but you're talking like you're 98. What is wrong with you? Enjoy a thing. I'll sprinkle my ashes on the golf course. Ugh. Boring ass man. I love him though. Love him to pieces.
I'm gonna sprinkle your ashes
on
over
a golf course.
No, all over the thing you love most.
You?
Me.
You should just just like just hollow out a dildo and just pack me in there and then seal it shut. And just
how much ash does a body make? Enough to fill a dildo?
An urn amount.
Oh, like the full urn?
Decent amount, I think so.
I'll be like, you guys just fill up this dildo and you just keep the rest. It's
I've also heard some shit that they like, they burn you and then they scoop an urn full and then they kind of, they brush away they brush out the little cremator machine. But I heard like you're probably getting other people's ashes. It's not like an exact science.
We are all connected with Jackie
And plus also there's like, I think they like, I don't know if they sift it. Or maybe they, because there's bones and there's stuff that like doesn't burn, so.
Like the bullet in your
I don't know.
body that you took, yeah.
Do you think I'm going to get shot in the year 2018?
No, I'm making you have a hard-ass backstory.
You're making a lot of predictions.
I've been listening to a lot
I'm
of
getting shot to death by the end of the year, which is like 3 months away.
Very little time.
Well, I have a lot of anxiety about dying, so this isn't helping. So let's close this podcast now. I'm all out of Cuba Libre, Del Pobre. Let's move on. All right.
Hot pop.
This has been FemComPod. What is unique about the phrase FemComPod? It's a shortening of the podcast title, and is also our website, femcompod.com. If you want more info about the podcast, I've been Justin Golak. JustinGolak.com. Lots of stuff coming up in September. Got shows, baby. So upcoming shows tab. Get those dates. I don't know if it's, as of speaking, it's not super updated. But I'll get those dates up very soon, so keep checking back. Follow me on Twitter at Justin Golak. I really need to post more shows there, but no one really follows me there. Honestly, add me on Facebook. I haven't reached my friend limit. Post more there. I should get better on Twitter. But you can tweet at me on Twitter. Hey, what are you doing next in Chicago? And I'll tweet back at you.
Tweeter me.
And let us know how you've been liking these intros. Too long, too short? Just right. On Twitter. Or if you got a long thing to say, Justin at JustinGolak.com. Be sure to attach a dick pic to that email about the show. Because that is what I love getting in the old
this is like our religion.
Inbox.
Our whole purpose of having this entire podcast is to get Justin dick pics.
Jackie Manti is over at JackieManti.com, at Jackie_Manti on Twitter, and Jackie at JackieManti.com. If you're like, I don't have a dick, but I have these sweet-ass tits, well, you send those tit pics over to Jackie at her email address, and we promise not to show the other one, or we promise to forward them to each other and then jerk off to them, respectively.
Mutually masturbate. You can also slide into my DMs on Instagram at Jackie Manti.
Nice. And what do you got some probably specific stuff to plug?
Oh my gosh, I am so excited. September 1st, this Saturday, my gallery show opens at Slate Arts and Performance Gallery in Chicago in Humboldt Park. And the opening reception is Saturday night. This is September 1st, and we are doing a storytelling show at 8 p.m. Doors open at 7:30. It's free, BYOB. Come on down. Come see the show, and then check out the artwork.
They also have like beer
exciting
for sale there always, and it's always like donation based because it's like an art space. They don't have a liquor license, so they always have just like a tub of like Miller High Life, and you just give them whatever you want. They said you just like take a beer and put whatever you want in the bucket. Yeah. So be nice. I'd say give them say $2-3, but
Yeah, they're great. I'm so excited, and then that's also my book launch is a part of that.
Yeah. So Jackie has a book, Gone Country. It's launching on September 1st, which means if you go to the art show, which is 8 p.m. at Slate, look at Jackie's art, see a live reading of some essays by Jackie and some other funny people, and interesting people, not just funny. I'm used to plugging comedy shows. It will be probably funny though, some of it.
Some of it, but yeah, it's mostly just I think they're really good writers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then pick up a copy of the book, or the book will also be available on Amazon. Yes.
Yes.
Any other online retailers? Probably everyone uses Amazon.
No, but like I'll probably put it on my website and stuff too. But just JackieManty.com. I'm sure there'll be a link up soon. But yeah, come on out to the show.
Nice. And I think that's about it. Plugs about me that are about Jackie. Bonus episode of the podcast will go up this Thursday. We got another one. I think we got this one and then 2 or 3 more coming before the end of the year. So if you want our backlog plus all the new stuff coming before the end of the year, you can go to patreon.com/LOClass no dash, as I jokingly plugged before, real plug right now. And there's bonus episodes of this pod and other stuff, and you can get access to that at all levels. And the more money you patronize with, the more stuff you get. You get like real physical merch up at certain levels. But at all levels, you get access to the bonus episodes, and we'll have a new one coming out this Thursday where we review the super, super talked about. And I was like, we got to jump into this, because if there's anything perfect for the dynamic that we propose of a feminist and a comedian, it would be the comedy special that, again, has already been talked about a bunch. So I don't know. Hopefully it's not too late, but I think it's perfect timing. And I think we're the perfect group to kind of talk about, just because this is also one of those things where people have a lot of views, and it's like, oh, so do you watch it? And they're like, well, I haven't watched it yet, but I watched the trailer. And it's like, well, I feel like you're just you kind of are just using this as a conduit to your ideology, all sides of the aisle or all sides of the opinion
What
base.
is it?
So we're going to actually watch it and then talk about it. Review it, I guess, is the way to say it, but also just talk about the implications of it to art and society and all that good shit. We'll get deep, we'll get shallow, we'll get all into it. We're going to watch Nanette.
Yeah.
The comedy special on Netflix that everyone's talking about. And this feminist and this comedian, we will talk about it on a bonus episode of FemComPod at patreon.com/LOClass no dash. And then finally, my podcast, Justin Golak, Safe Space, jgsspodd.com. My next episode comes out not this Thursday, but next Thursday. And it will be a guest set episode where I have someone on and we talk about something. And we're going to talk to Jackie Manty about the subject of writing a book. So if you're interested in her process and what the book's about, and I don't know, just a bunch of different shit. And we're going to be recording that this week, hopefully. We might have to push it to next week, but we might be too busy. The point is, I really want to read the book most of the way through before we talk about it. And you know me and reading, oil and water, baby. I suck at it. It makes my head hurt, makes me sleepy. So
you're going to need a month.
I'm going to try it real hard to just crank through it. I'm going to take a lot of poops and bring it in the bathroom every time. So, all right, that's the pod, lowclass.com. That's lo-class.com for everything else. You know the deal. It'll make you squeal. Shout out to everybody in podcast land. Have a good rest of your day, evening, or morning. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, guys.